Good morning, everyone. My name is Malika Chatterji, and it's a pleasure to speak on behalf of my entire team. I would like to take a moment to thank our student leadership from this semester, Shannon Doherty and Norman Shafto, and our faculty advisor, Lloyd, Kass. I would also like to thank our last semester's leadership, Erin Quittel, Scott Jorleen, and of course, Dr. Abson, for all of their help and guidance over the last 2 semesters. It's been a pleasure working with this team. It is my pleasure, therefore, to speak on behalf of the final briefing for this semester in the implementation of the Water Sense program under the Water in the 21st Century Act. This piece of legislation, like much environmental legislation, speaks to problems that exist in the environmental world. 3 big issues that this bill seeks to look at and attempt to address include unsustainable water use across various sectors, so agricultural, commercial, and residential. A second problem is differential water availability throughout the United States. And finally, drought that's compacting and impacting states in the Southwest, which is having real stress and real impact on people's livelihoods, the agricultural sector of California, and many other types of problems that are created by drought. So this bill, as I mentioned, it's a water management bill that is proactive in nature because it's attempting to solve problems before they get worse. It does this through a number of different mechanisms. One is a water conservation program called Water Sense, which I will speak about today. The other is in the form of loans and grants for aging infrastructure, creating a drought resiliency program to address the impact of climate change. Another is to create a refuge plan for salmon populations in the state of California. The program that we chose as a group to implement and to focus on this semester is the Water Sense program as a conservation measure. The reason we made this decision is because of the fact that conservation is a wide-scale program that can have many, many benefits. You can sort of see it as a low-hanging fruit that addresses various problems that you saw on the previous slide with regard to impacts on our wastewater treatment facilities, impacts for consumer use of water, supply control. So it's a low-hanging fruit that allows us to achieve many of the other problems that this bill seeks to address. The legacy program, Water Sense, was started in 2006 by an executive order, and it had the goal of creating a nationally recognized brand. It did this by working with specific manufacturers to certify products that reached a 20% improvement in efficiency standards without sacrificing performance. These products included faucets, toilets, shower heads, and the program under the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States government partnered with organizations to promote water efficiency. So from 2006 to 2015, it has been successful in saving 1.1 trillion gallons of water. This next phase of the program that we have been working on, we have dubbed it Water Sense 2.0, and it has an ambitious goal that we have designed and called the Water Sense Way of 2T, saving 2 trillion gallons of water by 2020. That number is equivalent to essentially the amount of water that 14 million households in the US use per year, or the amount of energy that's needed to heat, treat, and pump water for 24 million homes per year as well. And the way that this program 2.0 of Water Sense will accomplish this ambitious goal is by the same mechanism that the prior program did, which is by expanding partnerships. As I mentioned, this program is passive to the extent that it operationalizes and creates a market for water efficiency for these products and practices. It has done this in the past and will continue to do so by certifying certain service providers. In the first year, we recommend that the EPA focus on plumbers, because plumbers can assist with the implementation of a suite of new products and practices, including xeriscaping, which you see an example here. This is in New Mexico, which is a state that's facing drought. Xeriscaping is a type of landscaping that uses less water. It means less strain, less use of water. It adds to the conservation of water resources. Another type of practice includes green roofs for areas, for example, here in New York, where we face the opposite problem, sometimes of flooding, and the introduction of washing machines to the line of products. To enable the expansion of the efficiency of these products, we recommend increased technical advancements and tiered efficiency standards, with the new two standards of gold at 30% increased efficiency and silver at an increased 25%, and so the regular 20% will now be called bronze. The real hallmark, however, of our plan that we advise for the EPA is the regionalization of this program. So moving WaterSense from outside of the Washington, D.C. headquarters to all 10 of the EPA offices. What this does is it enables the WaterSense program to tailor its program very specifically to the regional needs. This allows for enhancement of different practices and processes that are unique to those regions. It also allows those regional offices to increase partnerships with people that are on the ground in those regions that DC might not be able to reach. It finally will increase the awareness and recognition of the WaterSense brand throughout the country. Because we are recommending this regionalization strategy to build upon the market strategy, the one thing that these regional offices will be able to do is to add and implement and increase the outreach and educational programs that the WaterSense Legacy Program has done. So you see here a Shower Better campaign from the WaterSense program. So outreach to private companies, municipal utilities, tribal governments, for example. These are entities that will be able to additionally increase the education of their member constituencies. Similarly, educational programs that regional offices can tailor specifically to schools, low-income and rural communities can be tailored specifically to their needs. So these campaigns can change in their nature and their design. How these regionalization program will work and the reason why it's able to grow so significantly is the five-fold increase of the budget for fiscal year 2016 from approximately $2 to $10 million. A little slightly more than half is designated for the regional offices, which you see here in green. 40% of the entire budget, which is the 25% outreach and education at the regional level, and 15% of marketing technical development at the national office, is designed for the programmatic work that I described in the prior slide. And the staffing and contracting new hires that we imagine and recommend at the regional level includes 10 full-time WaterSense managers at each of the EPA offices, with one consultant under each manager and as many interns as each regional office decides it needs. At the national level, we have recommended an additional 2 technical staff and 3 consultants to work with assurance of quality of those new suite of practices and products I mentioned, a liaison to work with the Energy Star program, which is a very similar efficiency program within the EPA working on energy, and finally a liaison to work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs to consult with tribal governments at greater detail and to see what their needs are. So I would like to leave you with some final concluding remarks with regard to this program. It has saved water in the past through a market-based program, and we believe it will continue to do so. This optimization of water efficiency will hopefully lead to less hydrological stress, and most of all, we hope it will add to an increasing ethos for water conservation across the country. So with that, I thank you so much, and I look forward to entertaining your questions.
Great presentation, thank you. I have a question about some of the outreach and education components of the plan. So many of the states, I'm thinking California in particular, are very focused on this issue. Right. And I'm wondering if any of your outreach and education is toward creating partnerships and flowing down any of the funds or consultation to groups that are already very active on this issue.
Sure, thank you. That's a wonderful question. So one of the main strategy, in addition to marketing these products, has been to partner with organizations. So your question is a very apropos one, because that is the goal of the regionalization. So we recommend that the regional offices reach out to partner organizations that are on the ground that are doing this work in particular. particular. So the current partners of the WaterSense tend to be trade associations, building associations, those kinds of entities. But I would imagine that the expansion will include any number of these partners because, as you mentioned, California is extremely busy in terms of handling the drought that they face. So thank you for the question.
Great presentation. My question is about the, I guess, economic piece of this. In your research, did you find any cost savings that consumers would stand to gain from saving water, and would those be included in the educational or promotional materials?
Of course, and thank you, Jay. I think that's one of the benefits of this program is that it's a win-win on many levels. So consumers save money because they're spending less on their water utility bills. They're spending less on energy that's needed to pump, treat, and heat the water that's coming into their homes. Same thing for outdoor and other types of commercial entities that are going to be saving because they spend less on their water utility bill, and that's the great benefit of a conservation efficiency program. Was there another component of your question that I missed?
Any estimate of individual cost savings for households?
Yes, and those have been very substantial. So the new tiered efficiency standards of 30% at the gold level and 25% for the silver, those will simply increase the savings for consumers at the home.
So as we all know, a lot of the one of the biggest uses of water is irrigation for agriculture. And I'm just wondering if this program can tackle kind of those larger scale infrastructure inefficiencies.
Sure. No, that's a great question. I was just reading how a good portion of the farmers in the Central Valley of California are moving towards increasing solar panels, which is a little outside of the scope of the WaterSense program. But yes, WaterSense can work with drip irrigation and improved efficiency for technology, for agriculture. I think the nub, though, of your question is that there is a larger political issue of the fact that 80% of California's water use goes to agriculture. So I think these are questions that the program will have to develop and design in concert with states as well. Thank you so much.